Everyone, it's Allan Endresz here from Zukaz, the founder. This is the 5th of December 2018, and if I look a little bit nervous, it's my first podcast, and certainly we're looking forward to many more podcasts, not just with me or live streaming, but also with the entire teams. So looking forward to this update. Lots to talk about, and I know everybody's been pretty eager as to what's been happening over the last couple of months in particular. And there has been a lot to report, and this is a nice way of doing it than just an email that's been going out, and there'll be a lot more of this in the future. Well, in the last sort of 60 odd days in particular, we have had an enormous amount of work done with the testing of the Zukaz apps. That's the Zukaz Biz, and certainly the Zukaz Hunter apps. And that's been a priority because that's one of the, as you know, the core parts and functionalities of the business moving forward. And I'm delighted to report that testing was absolutely phenomenal. Whilst it was in our local region here in Albury, Australia, the response on both merchant side and hunter side has really been fantastic. And we've deemed that to be the early Zukaz adopters that took it up, and a wonderful group of people of all age brackets, from young through to old, singles and married couples, etc. And during the course of that testing, we've learned a lot, which has now paved the way where we're going to be in the next few months, which is very exciting for everybody. So this podcast really will be broken down into three parts. The first being a short update in terms of the Zukaz Merchant or Zukaz Biz. The second being the update on the Zukaz Hunter app. And thirdly, which is of great interest to everybody, of course, as to how that works in with the progress and where we're at with the Zucoins. Now, in terms of the Zukaz Merchant or Zukaz Biz apps, the product has been well and truly well received in the recent testing, and also where we're at in the next few months with more testing of larger merchants. And in that regard, the outcomes is what we'd hoped in the business model, and that is the merchants very excited in terms of being able to communicate directly with their hunters or consumers 24 hours a day. In that regard, they have certainly been able to achieve outcomes far better than the giants that are controlling the type of social media advertising that we're all used to. And as an example, in recent testing, we had an outcome where of the vouchers that were dropped by the merchants, which, by the way, it's important to understand, there is no upfront cost to the merchants when they're creating the vouchers of real value. And these are cash value vouchers, very important. When they create those vouchers, we do verify that the merchant has the funds available, but we don't take any funds up front, and away they go and drop these vouchers. Now, in that process, we've seen vouchers that have been dropped where there's been a collection rate, that is the vouchers collected in excess of 87% of vouchers collected by real people. That's real people, not bots, not computers, not page impressions, and certainly not the type of norm that we see about the way in which the giants use the advertising to communicate today. Of that 87% of people that have collected the vouchers, of course the 13% that weren't collected were creating ads in their own right of being expired, and certainly that gave the message to those hunters that this merchant existed, and as a result of that, that certainly led into the marketing strategies that we'd hoped for, that merchants can communicate that message. In relation to those that were collected, we saw that over 70% of that was then redeemed, and that is money going direct to the merchant, upon which we got successful payments of our 10%, which is the way we make the revenue on success. In relation to those customers that actually went in and redeemed those merchants, there was a further 75% increase in spend in those establishments, and the outcome has been phenomenal. The best conversion rates that we've seen of the giants that I referred to was less than 0.2%. So we have had the merchant reports in terms of the focus groups and the feedback of what needs to be done, and the changes in the app, the user friendliness from a merchant perspective, instantaneous dropping of vouchers, the way in which the computer can actually drop them on behalf of the merchant to allow for scheduling and those sort of drops, and the way in which we're looking at the designs are phenomenal. The second part is the hunters themselves, and this was absolutely phenomenal. We were amazed the way in which people reacted and moved people in different areas within, in one instance, a 50-kilometre radius where people went out. They enjoyed the hunting. We had responses back from one lovely young couple, for example, that interestingly it brought them closer together in their marriage as a result of going hunting, collecting, both late at night, etc. We've had a first romance bloom where the young girl had met her man of the future out hunting, and generally the response was that this is a whole new world of wanting to go looking for vouchers, and that's the outcome we wanted. And interestingly, the ease of which you go hunting and collecting, and remember this is anywhere in the world it will be eventually, the hunters really enjoyed out and about. They enjoyed that it was real money. They certainly wanted real money, not discounts or the price of two things for one. And that was very important. That's a big feedback, and also the ease of use within the app itself and the design changes. So we have received the focus group reports, and based on those reports and those outcomes, that's led us to a major contract now to complete the operational version, which is called version 1.1, and we've awarded that contract to a very big group in Melbourne called MoWorks, and MoWorks have engaged 20 plus people in terms of the entire redesigns that you'll see of the Zukaz logos for biz and hunters, the ease of use of the interfaces for consumers, the trading platforms, which are very important. The hunters enjoyed being able to trade the vouchers, and certainly the way in which we create a uniqueness about the whole brand, which lends itself to all jurisdictions, no matter what your multicultural background is, and that's been a huge benefit for us in that regard. So that contract is significant, and the modelling of that contract is that it's commenced immediately. It allows a version 1.01, the first major upgrade, to be in early February, and then of course it leads itself through to the full 1.1 version with a whole lot of excitement within that app for both hunters and merchants, with the augmented reality playing a crucial role, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. Ready for launch in early April. Certainly you will start to see the excitement through early February, and we're very excited about that. In the process, we've gained the consultancy services of a couple of major teams in Melbourne as well, and that is headed up by Ellie Vane from Vane Enterprises, and certainly Avi Althouse from Valet Services, Consulting Services. And it's bringing together, importantly for everybody, an exciting, young, aggressive team of people under 30 that really have got their heads on where this can lead to as a result of the business we're building. Now, if you bring those together, that's talking to you about the Zukaz product, which is crucial, as you know, to the way we attack a $500 billion global industry that's controlled by the giants of social media today. If we get a small percentage of that, which we're expecting given the results and the responses from merchants in particular, then we're well on the way to achieving some big ecosystem revenues coming from the sale of vouchers, and that's the trading platform, and also obviously the redemption of vouchers. And for us, that's somewhere in the vicinity potentially, which is our budgets and targets over the course of the next few years, of a $50 billion actual income stream to the business, with the benefit of course going to and be shared amongst all the players that are party to our team. In terms of the recent testing, I should just say that led itself to a couple of other big players that are going to test over the holiday break and the festive season, and that includes one of Australia's largest bakeries in this country. Also they have operations in Canada and New Zealand, and those industries are excited about the augmented reality, the way in which they can bring to people visuals of bread, donuts, and all the sort of things that are the norm that we see in our day-to-day lives, that people can go hunting and collecting for those. The second type is in the chocolate industry, and that's a international provider which will see some amazing testing of that in the festive season as well, leading up to our big launches of the testing in early February. So with that package coming together, it's important to understand that the future that we're heading to is obviously in the immediate term. It's about deliverable, which is the concept and the business model of lots and lots of vouchers in the marketplace, particularly again initially in Australia, and then global launch we're looking at June of 2019. And there's a lot on our plate with merchants coming to us at this stage, particularly the database from the hunters as well. But if you can imagine, plenty of vouchers out there to be hunted and collected, plenty to be redeemed, plenty to be traded amongst everybody. And some people have said to me they don't quite understand the trading, but essentially it means that if you've collected, say, a $500 Aussie voucher, and you don't wish to use that at a particular merchant, you can go on the platform and sell that up to obviously the $500 value. So there's a profit to be made by actually collecting and trading these vouchers, and that's a big thing for particularly young people, university students and so on. So that's in a nutshell, that we're well on track. We're very excited about the way the early adopters, and we've got to thank them for the efforts they've put in the last 60 odd days. It's been a very busy, hectic period. We know that fantastic that the app works to the specifications. Now we can put in play the excitement and the gamification that comes with that. Now, in terms of that, if I step forward and just to give you an example of some of the future this holds, augmented reality lends itself that people not only have to collect the vouchers that we're creating, and that could be logo brands of the merchants anywhere in the world, it could be products, it could be items, but it also can include things like collectibles. And I'll talk more about that in a minute based on the Zucoins platform. But any items that become unique or rare, we can now have those as part of the exercise to drop. So for example, one of the chocolate manufacturers, they have a chocolate egg, and when you crack that open in the virtual world, you'll get a very rare, for the children, a very rare dinosaur or certainly a dragon or whatever it is that they can hunt and collect, not only in addition to the value of the voucher. So we've certainly got a platform that's accommodating for all ages and gamification as well. Talking now through that, the significance of why I've run that is obviously the way we can have a powerful engine on a global footing where there's no limits to how many millions of merchants we can bring on board and or tens of millions of hunters. But that leads us to where we're at with the coins, and that's no doubt everybody's very keen to see where that is at. And that relies very much so on the ecosystem and what merchants and hunters do in order to drive fees directly from them into the value of the coin. Now, we're all truly well aware of where we're at today with where cryptocurrencies are and crypto assets, and certainly they've taken a big hit. But for me, it's exciting to think that the people that are coming to us and the institutions that are talking to us now, because of the technology we've developed using split encryption hashing technology. Very important, very different to what you see with blockchain as we know it. That's giving us an edge that you'll see as a result of the support, that we're not happy just to sit back and say this is just another crypto. The Zucoins themselves, given the technology we're advancing, will certainly achieve the outcomes, and that is outcomes of peer-to-peer, true decentralized peer-to-peer. There is no third party or groups of third parties like Bitcoin of miners necessary to validate transactions. That is a huge achievement over the last many months. That means that anybody in the world can sit on a fragment of the coins of data, and that data means you have in your possession everything you need to know about the coin, the transaction history, the value of the coin, what's happening with the amount of coins you've got in that fragment that you carry around. And that can be also used within, and we expect in early February, to be able to trade amongst yourselves using the Zukaz platform, the trading platform. Now, that's on target, that's looking great. We have an incredible young man who's going to change the dynamic of what we know as blockchain because of the Zucoins, young Robert. And for me, he's an absolute genius. and the outcomes he's achieving will change the world as we know it as we move forward in this space of crypto. And I don't say that lightly because it means that in the Zucoin world, by eliminating all those issues, the high costs, the foreign exchange transfers, the ability to get into Bitcoin and get out, the delays in the service because of the miners, turns it into a real, true, decentralized crypto that allows people to work with each other on an exchange of goods and services and values. Now, some people said, look, it's taking a long time. It has taken a long time, but we have been ticking off all the boxes and lining things up, and that's why you would have seen the update from ul.com that I put out. And not many people know what ul.com does, but certainly it's one of the largest companies in the world for certification of appliances and certainly processes and systems, and particularly security. And the good news is that that's well underway, and we will get the validation and the authentication from ul.com come late January, as they're working with Robert and checking every single thing of the crypto process of that Zucoin. Now, it's very important because with that validation and authentication from such a big company, it's not just the coin itself and the security, it's the whole process that involves the way in which Robert's created this decentralized platform for the coins. And in that regard, that's a significant lever for the way we treat data in the future, not just within the coin environment, because it means that the coins will be certified as being secure, trustworthy, usable within other platforms, instantly integrated around the world with merchants, whoever want to accept it, in the full knowledge that it's irreversible in terms of any transfers, that you know that you have securely in your possession coins of real value that the marketplace itself will dictate what the outcome of that value is. And that will be supported by the community itself. Nothing to do with Zukaz per se, it'll be the merchants and the hunters that put value into that coin directly from very fees and things they're paying, which is that 20% that we're talking about in the smart contract. So there is nothing in any crypto, as far as we're aware, aside from getting caught up with issues as being defined as securities, etc., that the marketplace in a true decentralized way will be putting this fees and charges into each and every coin at a particular point in time. That's very significant. And I'd invite you to certainly review some of the videos that we've done, the animated videos, both on the www.zukaz.com site and www.zucoins.com, just to refresh your memories about why we're looking at these outcomes. And significantly, with that sort of authentication from ul.com, that gives us a ticket globally to say to people, this is a particular crypto asset that certainly is heads above the rest for all of the features that we're excited about. And, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I can assure you that those that would have been hanging onto their Bitcoins would be nervous looking downwards from even $3,300 US a coin, whilst we're quite excited to be looking upwards from USD $10 plus and opening up the market for Zucoins to anybody on the planet that is a hunter and or a merchant in that environment. Now, from the Zucoins perspective, and we talk about the value proposition in terms of the changes we're doing to revolutionise advertising with Zukaz, you'll start to understand how wonderful it is bringing on these merchants. And it's a wonderful thing because we actually don't sell merchants anything. We invite them to download the free app. We don't charge up front creating the vouchers. Once the vouchers are in the marketplace, we only charge on success. And as a result of that success, either redemption or the sale of vouchers, that's when the funds get split up and the marketplace itself puts that value into the coins. And it should be a very interesting time as we head towards that early February that we're all excited about. Now, in terms of the Zucoins and the platform, we also have MoWorks and their teams in Melbourne that are conscious of streamlining the way that the trading platform for vouchers and for coins works. And you'll be excited that that's going to be very easy in terms of that process. And we have the support of a number of big corporations that are excited. And some people say, well, how do you bring on large numbers of hunters? And it turns out it's very easy. And the reason is because if you have a merchant that is keen on dropping vouchers to improve his advertising budget spend and make money on success, rather than paying out large sums of advertising with very hard to get quantifiable results, if customers at all, given 0.2% as the average, that lends itself immediately to the merchants thinking about their databases. And everybody generally has a database or a loyalty to a consumer in some shape or form. And by that we can commercialise those databases, bring those hunters on board, lock them into the merchant, who then receives a share of the pie in terms of the fees and the overall monies that are coming into the business as well. So there's a very big incentive for not just maximising your advertising spend with success, but also maximising the money to be made from these databases. Of course, within the parameters of the privacy laws of the hunters, and certainly within the parameters of the regulatory laws that allow that to occur. So if I circle back, there's a couple of key critical summary points on two fronts. One, the testing has been an overwhelming success. The response of people wanting to get out and about, be part of their family and friends, and hunt for advertising vouchers. And just think about that for a minute. In the real world, we sit here and we have all these social media ads attacking us. We have ad blockers to stop them. We worry about spamming, and we worry about hacking. And all of a sudden, we have these vouchers that are going to real people in a virtual world that display amazing technology on the way we create these images and interact in real life. It's an amazing outcome that gives the hunters the opportunity then to make money as well. And if you think about that technology, to bring on 30 or 40 million merchants globally, to bring on 100 million plus hunters globally, it's quite an outcome and a feat that this will actually work and has been working on the scales that we've been using leading into version 1.1. I hope that's enough in terms of the summaries of where we're at and where we're heading for versions 1.1, which is so exciting, the coins, which is going to be incredible. And just remember that we did take the long road for the benefit of bringing ul.com on board to validate and authenticate the entire process. So that's, as I said again, the security, that's the way in which the processes work, what Robert has achieved, which is a global first in the way he has created what I refer to quite humbly as the split chain. It's not a blockchain, it's a split chain, and the preservation of your personal data is contained or can be contained within that environment. So I'm going to leave you with one little tidbit, if you like, as to what all this means in the long term for the vision of what the teams have now and can understand about what we can do. And I'd invite anybody, quite readily, you all have my personal cell number, and you have Matthew Endresz's as project manager's number, and anybody in the team, because certainly there will be live broadcasts with our team members and software developers and Robert. But I'll leave you with this little thought about what he's achieved and where it could end up. Now, if you can imagine that we have this world, this virtual world of augmented reality where people are hunting and collecting in certain spots around the world. Now, we can actually use this technology, this split encryption and this split chain technology, that we can actually identify and log in any block of land or real estate on the planet. Now, as an example, I've told the team, if you think of Central Park in New York, there's 42 million people that visit Central Park every year. Now, if those people are hunting and collecting vouchers, we literally can sell virtual real estate. We can bring it to you as our community that you may wish to buy Central Park virtual real estate. And that data, the augmented reality component of that, as well as the data, can be locked into the same concepts as the Zucoins and create a peer-to-peer transferability of virtual property. Now let's think about how we commercialise that in the long term. And the way we do that is simple. Anybody that visits your virtual block of land would be paid a royalty from Zukaz, A, for collecting the voucher on your land, which we can identify with near perfect analytics and track every movement on that block, and B, we certainly can pay royalties for if those vouchers are then redeemed or traded, which creates an amazing revenue stream for the first time, as far as I'm aware, of a virtual world where royalties are paid for the use of your virtual land within the Zukaz environment. So I'm going to leave you with that thought, because that puts some interesting values. And of course, if you were to make a lot of money out of that virtual property and put that on the trading platform, that gives us the opportunity to take a fee on the sale profit that you make as well. And guess what? That's another revenue stream that could be applied directly from the community into the value of the coins. So there's a lot on our plate. We get the first version 1.1 up and about. We cannot wait. The teams are busy. There's a short break over the festive season, but nevertheless, extremely busy. You'll see the new brands coming out. We've had some amazing feedback to globalise the Zukaz and Zucoin brands. I think the colours, the ease of use, the UI, you'll see that excitement, and you'll be excited about, you'll want to go out and you'll go hunting, whether that be hunting in the wonderful areas of the Caribbean, and a good little hello to all my supporters and backers through the Caribbean and Bahamas in particular, to Wayne Johnson and Parry Simmons, doing a wonderful job. Just be patient, guys, because it's going to go crazy. We've seen it go crazy here, and you'll see some of those videos and what we can do. So have a great